There is a type of leg weakness that most people over 60 have no idea they're carrying around with them, and it never shows up while walking down the street or strolling through a grocery store. It hides in plain sight, and the one place it reveals itself almost instantly is a simple chair. Not a treadmill, not a balance beam, not some complicated test at a clinic, just the act of standing up and sitting down. That simple motion exposes what your legs can and cannot do. And today, I want to show you exactly how to test yourself at home so you know where you actually stand. We're going to cover the chair rise control test, what to watch for while you're doing it, and most importantly, what to work on first, if you notice your legs aren't as steady or strong as they used to be. Before we get into it, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Drop your age and where you're watching from today. Are you in Florida, Ohio, Arizona, somewhere across the pond? And if you're watching this for a parent or someone you care for, just type the word caregiver so I know you're here too. This information is just as important for those of you helping a loved one stay mobile and independent as it is for someone testing themselves. So why does a chair tell us so much more than walking does? When you walk, your body can coast on momentum. You swing one leg forward, catch yourself. Repeat. It's rhythmic. And honestly, your body has done it so many times that it can mask a lot of small deficit. You might have a subtle weakness in one hip or thigh and never realize it because your walking pattern has quietly adjusted over the years to work around it. But a chair is different. A chair demands that you generate force from a dead stop. You're sitting, your legs are bent, your muscles are in a shortened or lengthened position depending on the joint, and now you have to push your entire body weight up against gravity without the help of momentum. That is the moment weakness shows itself. And here's the part most people don't think about. The way down matters just as much, maybe more. Lowering yourself into a chair requires your muscles to work eccentrically, meaning they're lengthening while under tension, and that's actually harder to control than the push-up. Think about the last time you sat down on a low couch after a long day and just kind of dropped into it. That drop isn't relaxation. That's your legs saying they don't have the control to slow you down. Picture getting into a car, especially a low sedan, and how your body sort of plops into the seat. Or standing from a restaurant booth, where the seat is soft and deep, and your knees are below your hips. Or getting off the toilet in the middle of the night when you're still half asleep and your balance is foggy. These are the everyday moments where hidden leg weakness makes itself known. And the beautiful thing is, you can test for this right now with nothing more than a standard chair. Here's how to do the chair rise control test safely. You'll want a sturdy chair, ideally one without wheels, with a firm seat and a back. Place it against a wall so it cannot slide backward. If you have a chair with armrests, that's fine. We'll talk about how to use them, but a simple dining chair or kitchen chair works perfectly. Make sure you're wearing stable shoes, not slippers that could slide, and position yourself near a counter or sturdy table so you have something to grab if you feel unsteady. Stand in front of the chair and sit down with your feet flat on the floor, about hip width apart. Let your feet rest naturally, not tucked too far under you and not out in front. Place your hands in your lap or cross your arms lightly over your chest if you're comfortable doing that. Now, here's what we're testing. Stand up smoothly, without rocking forward aggressively, without pushing off with your hands, and without using a big heave of momentum. Just rise. At the top, pause for a moment. Stand tall. Feel your balance settle. Now, sit back down slowly, taking about 3 full seconds to lower yourself until your bottom gently touches the seat. Do not drop. Do not plop. Control the descent the entire way. As you do this, breathe normally. A helpful cue is to exhale gently as you push up to standing, which prevents you from holding your breath and spiking your blood pressure. If you feel dizzy, lightheaded, or if there's any sharp pain in your knees, hips, or back, stop immediately. This is not about pushing through discomfort. This is about observing what your body does naturally so you can learn from it. What you're looking for during the test is not a number or a score. It's a set of patterns that tell you something about how your legs and hips are functioning. One of the most common things I see is what I call the rock and launch. This is when someone shifts their weight dramatically forward. sometimes jerking their upper body, to create momentum before their legs engage. If you find yourself rocking once or twice before you actually leave the seat, that usually suggests your thigh muscles, the quadriceps, aren't generating enough force on their own to lift you from a still position. Another pattern is heavy reliance on the hands. If your palms press hard into your thighs, or if you reach for the armrests and push down firmly, your arms are doing work your legs should be doing. That's not wrong or dangerous on its own, but it tells you there's room for improvement. Pay attention to your knees as well. Do they stay in line with your toes, or do they collapse inward toward each other as you stand or sit? That inward drift often points to weakness in the muscles on the outer side of your hips, the ones that stabilize your pelvis and keep your knees tracking properly. If your feet slide backward or turn outward excessively as you rise, that can suggest tightness in the ankles or a compensation for stiff hips. And then there's the sit. Does your lowering feel smooth and controlled, or do you lose control somewhere in the middle and just drop the last few inches? That loss of control in the final phase is extremely common, and it's a sign that your leg muscles fatigue quickly, or that you haven't trained the eccentric strength needed to slow your body down. None of these patterns mean you have a disease or a serious problem. They're simply signals that specific parts of your movement chain could use some attention. Think of them like feedback, not failure. Now, let's talk about what to fix first if you noticed any of those patterns. Most exercise advice for seniors focuses on general leg strengthening, things like walking more or doing simple leg lifts. And while those have value, they often miss the specific skill of chair rising. What I've found works better is training the chair rise itself as a movement skill, not just building abstract leg strength. The first thing to practice is your setup. Before you even try to stand, make sure your feet are positioned properly. They should be roughly under your knees or even slightly behind them, because when your feet are too far forward, you have to fight extra leverage to get up. Think of sliding your heels back just an inch or two. Then shift your weight forward through your midfoot, not your toes, and keep your chest tall as you hinge slightly at the hips. This forward lean isn't a collapse. It's a purposeful weight shift that loads your legs and prepares them to push. Once your weight is forward and your legs are engaged, press through your whole foot and rise. At the top, pause, feel your balance, then sit back down slowly with intention. That's the skill. Practice that pattern 10 times in the morning and 10 times in the evening, and within a week you'll notice it becoming smoother. Beyond the setup, there are a few targeted drills that build the specific strength and control the chair rise demands, and I've chosen these because they're different from what you've likely seen before and because they tie directly to what the chair test is measuring. The first drill is what I call hover holds. You'll sit in your chair, find your good setup with feet back and chest forward, and rise just enough to lift your bottom an inch or two off the seat, then hold there. Don't stand all the way up, just hover. You'll feel your thighs and hips working intensely even though you're barely off the chair. Hold for a count of 3 to 5 seconds, then gently lower back down. Rest a moment and repeat. This hover position trains the exact range where most people are weakest, that initial push off, and it also builds confidence because you know the seat is right there if you need it. The second drill is the eccentric sit, which is simply the slow lowering we talked about earlier, but now you're doing it with focused intention. Stand in front of your chair, lightly touch a counter for balance if needed, and lower yourself as slowly as you can. Aim for a full 3 to 4 seconds before your bottom touches the seat. As you lower, watch your knees and make sure they're pointing in the same direction as your toes, not caving inward. If they do drift in, it's okay. Just notice it and try to gently correct it on the next rep. The third drill is a supported mini squat hold. Face your kitchen counter and place both hands lightly on the surface for balance. Step your feet back about a foot from the counter and bend your knees slightly, maybe 15 or 20 degrees, settling into a shallow squat position. Hold that position for 10 to 15 seconds. This is not a deep squat and should not cause knee pain. The goal is to build endurance in the muscles that support you when you're in a seated position and during the transition to standing. If a counter isn't available, you can do a similar hold against a wall by sliding your back down just a few inches and holding. The fourth drill is hip hinge patterning, and this one is especially helpful if you notice that your knees take a lot of stress when you stand. Place your hands on your hips and practice bending forward from the hips, while keeping your spine long and your knees only slightly bent. This is not a squat, it's a hinge. You're learning to load your hips and glutes instead of dumping all the work into your knees. When you can hinge smoothly, you'll find that your chair rise becomes more hip-driven and your knees feel less strained. Here's a simple way to think about practicing these over the next week. On day 1 and day 2, focus entirely on your chair rise setup. Do 10 slow, controlled stand and sit cycles in the morning and 10 in the evening. Don't add any extra drills yet. Just work on feet position, forward lean, smooth rise, and slow lowering. On day 3, add the hover holds. After your 10 chair rises, do 3 to 5 hovers where you pause an inch off the seat for a few seconds before either standing fully or lowering back. On day 4 and 5, incorporate the eccentric sit by really slowing down your lowering phase and paying attention to your knees. On day 6, try the counter-supported mini squat hold for 2 or 3 rounds of 10 to 15 seconds each. And on day 7, put it all together. Go through your chair rises with good form, add a couple of hovers, slow your sit-downs, and finish with a brief mini squat hold. You don't need to do all of these every day forever. The goal is to build the control and strength so that your normal everyday sitting and standing becomes smoother and more confident. As you progress over the following weeks, you can make the challenge slightly harder by using a lower chair or couch, reducing how much you rely on your hands, or increasing the time you spend in the hover or hold positions. Always prioritize comfort and control over difficulty. This is about building lasting function, not pushing to exhaustion. Let me pause here and ask you something. Think about your daily life. What's actually harder for you? Getting up from a low couch after watching a movie, rising from a standard dining chair, or getting out of a car when the seat is down near the ground? I'm genuinely curious because each of those situations challenges your legs in slightly different ways. A low couch requires more range of motion in your hips and more strength in your thighs. A car requires you to rotate and push off asymmetrically. A dining chair is usually the easiest of the three because the height is moderate. Let me know in the comments which one gives you the most trouble, because that tells you where to focus your practice. And if you're finding this information helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit the like button and consider subscribing. It helps this channel reach more people who need these tools to stay strong and independent as they age. There are a few important cautions I want to leave you with before we wrap up. If you perform this test and you notice that one leg is doing significantly more work than the other, or if one leg feels dramatically weaker or more unstable than the other side, that's worth mentioning to your doctor or a physical therapist. Sometimes one-sided weakness develops gradually from an old injury or joint problem, and a professional can help identify whether targeted therapy would benefit you. If the weakness came on suddenly, especially if it's accompanied by any numbness, tingling, confusion, difficulty speaking, a severe headache, or any symptoms that remind you of a stroke, that is not something to monitor at home. That's an emergency, and you should seek care immediately. Similarly, if you experience chest pain, fainting, or severe shortness of breath during any kind of exertion, including something as simple as rising from a chair, stop and call for help. These are red flags that require urgent evaluation. For most people watching, the patterns you notice in the chair test are simply functional deficits, meaning your muscles and coordination have weakened gradually over time and can be improved with consistent practice. But when something feels truly wrong or dramatically sudden, trust that instinct and get it checked. I want you to try this chair test today. Find a sturdy chair, put it against the wall, stand near a counter, and go through the motion slowly and with awareness. Notice whether you rock, whether you push with your hands, whether your knees collapse in, whether you control the lowering or drop at the end. Then come back here and tell me what you observed. I read these comments, and I find it incredibly valuable to hear what real people in real bodies are experiencing. If everything felt smooth and controlled, that's wonderful. You're maintaining strength that many people your age have lost. If you noticed some of those patterns we discussed, you now have a roadmap for what to work on, and it starts with simple daily practice using the drills I described. Improvement doesn't require expensive equipment or hours in a gym. It requires consistency, attention, and the willingness to train a movement that matters every single day of your life. The ability to rise from a chair and sit down with control is not a small thing. It's what keeps you independent, keeps you safe, and keeps you participating in all the activities that make life meaningful. In our next video, I'm going to show you a simple doorway observation that reveals whether your feet are clearing the ground the way they should, something that trips up more seniors than you might expect. Until then, stay steady, stay strong, and I'll see you in the next one.